Hey, you guys, thank you for coming back. Let me turn this up. I do that every time. Listen, what I want to say today, I listened to myself and I talk too fast, probably for some people, so I'm going to try to slow that down a little bit. In the links over there in the comments, the first link is a link to the evidence that I'm going to be talking about today. I wanted to do a slideshow, but my technology skills are lacking. The second link is a photo album to, I believe, some pictures that would make you question whether or not the new as Prince Rogers Nelson was human completely. So that's what that second link is. And the third link, I believe, is what I call whiteboard wisdom. That's so that you can see some examples of the writings and things that have been happening to me over the last 2 years, so that you guys have to understand I was very shy to talk about it at first and put it out there. And though I did, it's more cleaned up now. But anyway, so the first link is what's going to be important to this video, you guys, because I have to read from the evidence, because what I want to do today, and I put going for the juggler in the title, because you guys, everybody knows that the investigation, the Pi investigation, was a farce. And I've tried to put out there why. It was the breakdown on the very life and soul of Prince Rogers Nelson, because they wanted to make him nameless. And I've already disclaimer. Everybody knows that he is the one, the creator, the one the world refers to as God, but he's a creator of all things and is alien-esque in his nature because he's a creator. That's how come he's all things. And he showed himself to me as all things when I was in my life after life, July 20th of 2010, which would actually be coming up on 12 years here this July. So anyway, and for those that don't know, I didn't remember anything about that until the spring of 2020, which is why if I come here all shocked, it's because I didn't know either. I didn't remember. But anyway, point is, the breakdown, you guys, was done maliciously, and I'm going to show you the evidence quite clearly, so that if you still believe the media hype after the evidence that we talk about and that's in that link, you have to wonder why. And if you don't care, you have to wonder why. A lot of people might think, oh, Illuminati kills people every day, but not the one, not the DNA, not the King David, not the reincarnated soul, the greatest soul you'll ever know. It wasn't that. The world didn't light up purple for no reason. So check it out. I'm going to jump right in, you guys. Let me slide up. So in case you don't know, this is what the media says, okay? And I need to let you know that, because I'm sure some people aren't familiar with the case. I'm getting new followers, and I know that not everybody loved and followed like I did for 39 years. So in case you're unfamiliar, this is what the media says, you guys. People Magazine, April 21st, 2016. Shortly after arriving at Paisley Park about 9:30 a.m., Andrew Kornfeld and two Prince staffers, longtime friend Kirk Johnson and personal assistant Marone Bacure, find Prince's body in an elevator. Kornfeld calls 911 at 9:43. Emergency responders arrive 5 minutes later and pronounce him dead at 10:07 a.m. Schulenberg arrives at some point before the police show up and tell an investigator that he was there to deliver test results to Prince, according to a search warrant. He also, now it says he, they do this all the time because they do the he and him switch. It's a Disney 33rd degree line in plain sight. He also tells the investigator that he had prescribed oxycodone to be filled at a Walgreens pharmacy. He says he wrote the prescription in Johnson's name to protect Prince's privacy. Now, again, that's what the media sold. And now I'm going to tell you the truth. Well, there's a couple more things I got to tap into. On June 2nd, you guys, so April 21st, that's what happened. And then on June 2nd, the Midwest medical examiners, they said that Prince died from an accidental self-administered overdose of fentanyl. Now, what that's really important to know, you guys, is because clearly the media said self-administered, high-powered overdose of fentanyl. And how were we told that he took that fentanyl? Well, by oxycodone, by taking oxycodone for pain, okay? Now, this thing that I'm reading from, second one, August 2016, the media says that pills marked as hydrocodone that were seized from Paisley Park after Prince's death are found to contain fentanyl, indicating that they were counterfeits. A source with knowledge of the investigation tells blah, blah, blah. Investigators found no prescriptions for fentanyl in Prince's name. Now, next slide, you guys. It's very hard to see. It's the, I don't know what number it is, but it's very foggy because that's all they provide online. So what I did is I took the liberty of taking what the DEA provided as the pills that they tested, and then I wrote it down. So that's what I'm going to read to you, but that's what's on that page that's very hard to read. So not only did they not test all the pills, this is what was in them. One tablet contained, it's going to be a little redundant, but it's not long. One tablet contained lidocaine and MMP, I think it says, which I looked up. It's like the party drug, like ecstasy and all the party drugs like that people take at rave parties. One tablet of 10 were tested. There was one tablet that contained oxycodone. There was one capsule that contained nothing, a tablet that contained nothing. There was a tablet that contained fentanyl and lidocaine, also the party drugs. There was another tablet that contained oxy, another tablet that was fentanyl and lidocaine. There was one tablet that contained just codeine. There was one tablet that contained just lidocaine. One tablet out of the, 10 or whatever it was, one tablet listed that had hydrocodone in it. Now, my point is, you guys, they sold the entire investigation on the fact that Prince Rogers Nelson, whoever, died from taking an illicit overdose of fentanyl from laced hydrocodone, but yet the pills they tested don't have any hydrocodone. And not only that, as we're going to see, there's no prescriptions for hydrocodone. So let's just keep going for the jugglers, shall we? Now, next thing is, you guys, the next slide you're going to see is between Patrick Murphy and Andrew Kornfeld. And the media story was that Andrew Kornfeld came out because Howard Kornfeld couldn't make it. Yet when Andrew Kornfeld is being interviewed, he says, the detective says, and just so that I understand, when you reference your dad, is your dad a doctor at the facility? Andrew says, yeah. So this is my dad right there. Okay, so Howard Kornfeld? Yeah. So he's ID'd right there. You can see that with your own eyes. So how is it that the media is sold on the fact that Howard Kornfeld wasn't there? There's two or more investigations. That's why. But I'm going to stick to the evidence today, not wander too far. Now, next slide, April 19th, Carver County Attorney Mark Metz, Mickey Mouse Killers playing Mickey Mouse game, announces that he was closing the 2-year criminal investigation into Prince's death without filing any criminal charges. Metz explained that county, state, and federal investigators were unable to develop credible evidence documenting the source of fentanyl that killed the musician, who likely believed he was taking a prescription painkiller. Likely. In fact, the pills he took were counterfeit Vicodin. The U.S. Attorney's Office said it had no evidence of a federal crime either. It did, however, announce a civil settlement with Schulenberg, who admitted to prescribing Percocet to Prince's close associate, Kirk Johnson. So point is, April 19th, you guys, is 4/19. That is 1914, World War I stuff that they're talking right there. That's just one of the dates. So they didn't press any charges because they said they couldn't figure out where the drugs came from. Now, the next document is the state of Minnesota. Michael Zimmer as trustee for the next of kin of Prince Rogers Nelson, deceased. This notice was filed on 11/4/2019, which if you take the date 11/4/19, it's also 1914. Has to do with the gematria in the case. It's in the song Family Name. Been here since 1914. Now you got to go, devil, devil. Anyway, notice the names in the petition: Michael T. Schulenberg, MD, North Memorial Healthcare, and Howard Kornfeld, MD, and Howard Kornfeld, MD, twice, a professional corporation doing business as Recovery Without Walls. So, shady identities, don't you guys think? So anyway, point is, they released all judgments against those parties on 11/4/19, which is also 1914. Take a look at that date. It's all there for you, right? Now, the next slide here is Jeff Primer, it says at the top. It's from Adam Hastings. Hastings was one of the first responders on scene. When you read the files, he and Hovarth, Bath. Now, the point is that he's asking for the video of the medical call on 421 at 9:43. So there's a medical call. It's the setup. The point is there's a video, and why Hastings would be asking for it, we don't know. But the point is there's a video, which we never got to see. And at the top, you'll see that there's a 1612559. That's only one of the 5 or 6 case numbers. So they're referencing something. Anyway, next slide, you guys. Everybody is probably familiar with the Just When You Thought You Were Safe Instagram that was taken down. This is to take you on a journey to show you just how shady the Merovingian Illuminati, how far this breakdown goes, you guys. And once you see it with your own eyes, you won't be able to deny it anymore. So anyway, there's that. I'm going to show you the breakdown. Now, you guys, Paul Podolsky, drug overdose in Minnesota. Next slide. On 1/9/16. January 9th, 2016, I learned about a fentanyl drug overdose that occurred in Minnetonka on June 18th, 2016. Impossible. Okay, read it again. Anyway, Paul Podolsky is the one that they said died 2 months after Prince, the former manager of Glam Slam, from the fentanyl with the white powdery substance, blah, blah, blah. What they did is I believe in my hearings and from my investigation, what it sounds like to me, you guys, is as shady and as deep as this stuff goes, is that Paul Podolsky was like a setup, and the whole file on Paul, and I mentioned it in the video that's dedicated to that, is that when you read all the investigation, the Paul file reads as if it were the Paisley Park file, but they were hiding the evidence from the Paisley Park file in the Paul file so that they could set a precedence for nobody to charge because they didn't know who the drugs were from, because there was, how they have to set a judicial pressure. I said it once. I'm not going to say it again. Precedence. So anyway, that is what I think. And it also goes along with the fact that it's the double P thing that I still have to get back to. Point is, it wasn't just a coincidence that somebody died 2 months later with the fentanyl and blah, blah, blah. Now, next slide, you guys, is longtime substance abuse expert. Excuse me, I skipped one. In the Paul Podolsky file, it says that the DEA officer Voller, same one in the Prince case, he said that he did not have any way to track the number of fentanyl deaths in Minnesota in the past year, but he was able to say that they had not had any other fentanyl deaths in pill form in Minnesota other than Prince, or he would have been notified. Now, point is, he said he didn't have any way to track the fentanyl deaths, DEA. Next slide, longtime substance abuse counselor for the state, Carol Fakowski. She talks about the fentanyl-related fatalities in Hennepin County alone. There was triple in 2 years, and there were 36 in the last year. And that's what she had to say. So why DEA Baller couldn't say that same thing, I'm not sure, because that's how they mix up the lies in the breakdown. Now, also, you guys, when you read in the Paul Podolsky file, it discloses that, I believe it was 2016 or 17, it says, and just last month, law enforcement in Hennepin County made the largest fentanyl bust not only in the state, but in the county. Nearly 3/4 of a gallon was seized from a home in Bloomington. Bloomington, you guys, Bloomington. Keep that in the back of your mind. So they have all this fentanyl floating around, the death at Paisley Park, Paul Podolsky. There's the largest fentanyl bust ever, not only in the county, but in the country, in Bloomington. Now, the next one is from a detective, the next slide, who tells us that the second, he's talking about the videos when Kurt went to go pick up the Percocet. And it says, I received the email, and the first video was from a Walgreens located at 7845 Portland Avenue South in the city of Bloomington, Minnesota. The date of the video is from 4/14, the date the Percocet was filled and issued to Kirk Johnson via Dr. Schulenberg for Prince. The second video is from Walgreens located at 4950, blah, 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 on 4/20. In this video, Kirk Johnson fills the prescriptions during Prince's doctor visit and is alone. They are then seen there an hour later at 7:04 after Prince's doctor visit. So that's what the 3 videos show. But the point is, we want to stay focused on the 14th right now. So why was he picking up drugs in Bloomington when Dr. Schulenberg was in Minnetonka and, the Bloomington fentanyl bust, of course. But anyway, let's go on. So there's a picture of him with a pink bag on the counter, picking up some drugs at the Walgreens. Now, I want to bring your attention to the slides, you guys. This video might be a little bit longer, but it's well worth it, especially if you're into the evidence. Now, good Mr. Doctor. Kirk has been Dr. Schulenberg's patient for 16 years per the testimony, and let's just keep that in mind. Good Mr. Doctor, which actually spells murder, like red rum, murder. Good Mr. Doctor. Just wondering, is there any way we could get fluids for Prince this morning? Please let me know. Now, you can tell from his response, Kirk, even if there was a private area, that they're not showing us the text because he responded what his name was, and even if there's a private area. And yet the next text, which is very important, you guys, says, good morning. We do have a private area. The urgency center does not open until 11, and there are 2 back entrances. It would have everything needed. I would try to go over and make sure supplies are accessible by 7. Now, remember that, but that's splicing and dicing. I'm going to get back to that, and it's super duper important. The other thing is with the doctors, and he was talking to Dr. Kornfeld's as well as Schulenberg, because the next text says we were supposed to fly out today for a show. He might have some other issues, I think. If you can, call me when able. Now, this is my point. Doctor, give me first name. Always say last name. It has slipped my brain. So if Dr. Schulenberg was his doc for 16 years and he knew his name, why would he have to ask him for his first name and say it slipped his brain? So he's talking to the Kornfelds, Andrew, and Howard, and they were probably told not to say their first name. So now, this is next slide, you guys. This is Schulenberg saying that this is truly important. The testimony in the media tells us that Kirk texted Schulenberg at 5:45. Schulenberg tells us he arrived at 6:45. He did some checked out Prince, and then he couldn't give him fluids at Paisley Park, so he made arrangements to have him brought over to his healthcare clinic. Okay. But the very next line, you guys, in the next slide, you can see where Schulenberg says, and it'll make sense in a minute, hang in there. Remember the 5:45 and the 6:45 in the morning, okay? That's what I want you to remember. And then Schulenberg says in a different part of the testimony, and after looking up opiate withdrawal treatment on the computer, I issued a prescription for Valium. Okay, now this is what's important. Prior to discharge, there was still, Prince and Kirk left around 6:30 because I had picked up my daughter up at gymnastics at 6:45 over by Paisley Park, actually. Now, that's a very telling statement, you guys, because it lets us know, or let me know, that they're lying about the time frames, because those kind of slip ups are very common. So his daughter wasn't going to gymnastics at 6:45 in the morning. I mean, it's highly unlikely. I don't know factually, but I'm assuming. So my point is, you can tell that they're slicing and dicing the conversations from the 7th and the 20th and the 14th because they're setting up a scenario. That text that he said, there was still the issue of, he said Prince and Kirk left around 6:30, because the way he says prior to discharge, there was still Prince and Kirk left around 6:30, which would put them at Walgreens at 7:04. But if he was picking up his daughter at gymnastics at 6:45, well, then he clearly, as you will see later, was in cahoots and probably dropped the other Prince off or something to that effect. Now, not to mention the fact that he prescribed Valium for a recovering addict. So I like my quote fingers, I know. Anyway, Schulenberg then says, and then my next contact with him was on the 21st, yesterday. So Schulenberg's being interviewed on the 21st during and after this conundrum. And then during his conversation, he says, my next contact with him was on the 21st, yesterday. So were they taking this testimony on the 22nd? It's all over the place. Anywho's, what's important, I want to get back to the bottom line here. Schulenberg says this. Well, I got to look at Kirk contacted me by text, and let's see here. Or actually, I had talked to Kirk on, I think, Wednesday. Yes. And then we had talked about having Prince come over for kind of an assessment, maybe some blood work. And on Thursday at 7, and then it happened actually at 5. We got in touch. Kirk got in touch with me, and then he came. Kirk and Prince came over to the office at 5. What's relevant about that, you guys, is if you go back up to the text that I was talking about where he says, "Good Mr. Doctor," and then the doctor in blue replies that he could have all the supplies accessible by 7. Well, then the testimony that he gave where he said that he was going to do the work on the 20th, but actually it happened at 5. See, he was going to do it at 7. See, because what I just read, I don't want to read it again because I'm reading it verbatim and that's how they talk. And it's kind of annoying to me to read. So anyway, you guys, yeah, let's just keep going. Now, he said he could do that about 7, but they end up coming at 5. So they're slicing and dicing their story. And Kirk's still saying they have a show to fly out for. Now, Schulenberg told me he met with Prince twice at the North Memorial Clinic. Schulenberg reported the first time he met with Prince on 4/7. In this visit, Schulenberg met with Prince at Paisley Park and then transported him to the clinic. That's what it says. The next statement in the other investigation says, Schulenberg said he met Prince and did a complete physical exam, asking Prince about his medical history. He couldn't administer fluids at Paisley Park, so Schulenberg arranged for Prince to meet Schulenberg at his office. Schulenberg said his office is located at 15450 Highway 7, Minnetonka, Minnesota. Schulenberg said later that morning, Kirk and Prince's assistant, Marone Bacure, brought Prince to the North Memorial Clinic, and for privacy reasons, they entered through the back of the building and came in the urgency part of the clinic because it was not open for patient care at that time. Now, you guys, the media will tell you that they just used a clinic after hours for privacy. But as I was just disclosing to you, they didn't tell you that he reportedly transported him, that Marone and Kirk brought him. And it sounds like what they're talking about is 3 different instances, yet what we see on YouTube in the CCTV video is, of course, Kirk and Marone sliding in through the back door, and we're told that that's the 20th. But with this evidence, you guys, we know that they went to that place on the 7th as well. And so how do we know that the media that they show on TV in what day it is? You know what I'm saying? So let's just keep going. Pardon me. The next slide is a text, and you can see where it says Mike Schulenberg in blue. I don't know many doctors that text their patients, first of all. And second of all, it doesn't say Dr. Mike Schulenberg, Michael Schulenberg, just Mike Schulenberg. Yes, Kirk says, you can come over, and see how there's no time at the top? It just says Kirk. Well, Kirk says, I'll meet you at the south gate. And then Schulenberg says, okay, about 15 minutes. And he says, thanks. But look down below. It says April 7th, 7:49. Why would Kirk be saying on the way at 7:49 in the morning? Okay. And then he says, I need to get back in. Sorry. So you know that they're playing some really dirty games. And then also the next slide is a text, you guys. And at the top, it says April 7th. I believe it says 10:55 from what I can see. I hope things went reasonably well for your boss. Have a safe trip. We can arrange to do lab testing needed. So my point is, Kirk says, okay, how did it go? So if Kirk and Marone brought Prince over for this, whatever they did after hours in the clinic that wasn't even open for public care, then why was he asking Dr. Schulenberg or Mike Schulenberg how it went at 10:55 and still stating that they had a concert to get to? And then the person responds, no complications. He doesn't look really well. As you have known him longer, you can tell that better than me. So, dirty deeds. Next slide, you guys. We're going to show how Kirk played the game with the drugs, okay? So on 5/10/16, I observed the prescriptions issued to Kirk Johnson on 4/7. So we're still on the 7th for Prince. They were identified as ondansetron, which is Zofran, and vitamin D capsules. According to the documentation, Schulenberg issued that prescription to Kirk Johnson on 4/14 at 1:30, the same day Prince was traveling to Atlanta for a concert. You guys, the next slide I'm going to jump right to so it's not so long, says, I then looked at the medical records for Kirk Johnson pertaining to what Dr. Schulenberg admitted. Now, Dr. Schulenberg said that Kirk called wanting to get something for Prince. This is the whole media thing. He wanted to get something for Prince because his hip was hurting, okay? Yet, Dr. Schulenberg puts the prescription not only in Kirk Johnson's name, but he puts in the file that patient called and is leaving town for Atlanta for a concern shortly and hurt his back lifting equipment. Was wondering if he could get something. Reviewed symptoms of low back axial pain without alarm symptoms. One time Percocet that he could pick up. FYI, I have known patient for 15 plus years, and this is a very rare request. Patient is aware he will need to come and pick up script. Okay, this is my point, you guys, and I always have them. The next slide is Kirk Johnson's phone records for the 14th. And granted, it starts at 12:42, but trust a girl has done her research, and this is where the calls with Dr. Schulenberg start. So the detectives that are writing the files, they say that Dr. Schulenberg advised Kirk called wanting to get something for Prince, and then, he takes the credit for writing the Percocet. But what they don't tell you is that on the 14th at 1:03, which is 13:03 on his phone records, 1:03, Dr. Schulenberg is the one calling Kirk on an incoming phone call twice. One, he doesn't answer, he hangs up, calls right back, 31 seconds. Okay. Then he makes contact with Dr. Boo, the dentist. And then at 1:20 in the afternoon, Kirk makes a 7-minute outgoing voicemail to Dr. Schulenberg. So then the detective file said that Schulenberg wrote for the prescription at 1:30, which would be cohesive with the phone call at 1:20, but it wouldn't be cohesive with the voicemails coming in to Kirk prior to Kirk getting a hold of Dr. Schulenberg. So check that with your own eyes. If you want the rest of the phone records, let me know. They're available, but you can trust me. This picture obviously is of what is supposed to be Kirk entering and exiting during the appointment on the 20th. What I think is really relevant, you guys, is I've proven in the videos that Sean Powell, I believe, Julius, was being used as a bodyguard and Kirk lookalike. Now, in these screen grabs, the one on the left, you can see that Kirk looks rather, slim and whatever. And then the one on the right, to me, the dude looks like he has a huge, gigantic 300-pound guy head, as the bodyguard was described to be in Moline. The guy described him as a 300-pound big black guy carrying somebody off the plane. So they played some switcheroos. They did a lot of screenshots, and I just want you to see that with your own eyes. Now, we're going to keep going. During the search warrant, the prescription bottles were located in Prince's suitcase with the name tag Peter Bravestrong. That's how they based the whole case, you guys. Schulenberg continued by stating, the only thing that I regret, and I'll be perfectly honest, is that Kirk said it would be better if I provided the Percocet prescription under his name. They never say who. They use his, he, and him all the time. Anyway, you guys, I jumped. The second bottle located in the suitcase in Kirk Johnson's name was prescribed on 4/7. The prescription bottle was labeled Zofran, but in the bottle, you guys, was one yellow oval pill stamped G1A, identified by the drugs as the Zofran, and there were also eight whole round white pills stamped A349, and those were the Percocet. So Kirk had the Percocet in the Zofran bottle, okay, and then also there was a CVS pharmacy, not Walgreens, but CVS pharmacy bottle under the name of Kirk Johnson with the said name vitamin D2, which contains 7 green capsules with the imprint 194 and 8 orange oval pills. The prescription bottle was located inside a suitcase in the mirror room, blah, blah, blah. The Bayer bottle with the 64.5 white pills with the inscription Watson 853, you guys, that they sold the whole media case on. That's what I was telling you. They were testing those pills, and only one of them had hydrocodone. The other had party drugs and lidocaine and other things. So, and then there was also the Recovery Without Walls pamphlet that was recovered from the Purple Rain room, in which Andrew Howard were supposed to have been in. So you'd have to wonder how the leaflet got in the room. Anyway, you can see who the finger's pointing at, right? Now, the next one is a Carver County item, yellow pill found on the bottom of the black bag, which was observed in what they call Prince's bed and was seen on the hospital surveillance video during the overdose in Moline, you guys. And there's the black bag with the, and they can say that he was carrying it for Prince. They can say what they want. Let's talk about possession. Let's talk about who was seen on videos. Let's talk about the phone records. Let's talk about who really procured the drugs, shall we? Well, we'll go on. And so then there's some more documentation there about the oxycodone that they found. The reason that I put so much of that in there, you guys, is because that's what the media story was sold on, and that Prince was taking all this these hydrocodone Vicodin for pain, and they were laced with fentanyl when hardly any of the pills had fentanyl in them, or even hydrocodone, mostly lidocaine and party drugs. Anyway, next thing you want to see there, I'm down to the slide where you can see a prescription bottle that's said to be prescribed on 4/2016, and what's relevant is the name Michael Schulenberg on the side. The next slide is Dr. Michael T. Schulenberg. You guys, I looked it up. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Dr. Michael T. Schulenberg on 675 Water Street is not the same as 15450, let me see, whatever his address was up here, North Memorial Clinic. 15450 Highway 7, Minnetonka is not the same as Water Street, to the best of my knowledge. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I researched before I said it. So if there are two offices and two Schulenbergs and two names, well, you can bet your sweet buns there's at least two of everybody else. Anyway, let's go on. Oops, I lost my place scrolling back up. 1 second. That's what happens. Just a second. Now we're on what looks like it's a black and white statement, and it says items 20 and 21 at the top, and it talks about what the DEA found. But what's relevant is in the middle, item 26. Investigators located a CVS pharmacy bag with the medicine information sheet attached. You guys, when you read through that, which I'm not going to do, it says, there's a fly down here, that the prescriptions were dated 4/19/16. And were disposed of in the trash can outside of the Stage Concert Hall. Okay. They also found a second CVS prescription pill container, which contained 33 blue-green capsules that were stamped with C339, which were clindamycin. What's relevant about that is Dr. Boo, the dentist, said that she prescribed clindamycin for Kirk, but she said that was on the 14th, not the 19th. So the CVS pharmacy bags that they found in the trash, even though they sold the appointments as the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st, there's also some great happenings that I'm going to break down for you. They were happening on the 19th. I mean, I wouldn't call them great, but happenings anyway. You guys, when Dr. Boo, this is what she said. Initially, Dr. Boo, she asked if they wanted to interview her about the elevator incident with Prince, and asked if she needed an attorney. When Lombardi told her that he could not give her legal advice, she decided to just tell the story. According to Boo, she said that Kirk Johnson called her the morning of the 14th, which is on the phone records, about a crown prep he had scheduled for later that afternoon. Now, he would have known his schedule. He would have known he was flying out with Prince, and he wouldn't have scheduled a crown prep, especially if it was an emergency. It wouldn't have been scheduled, okay? So she didn't start work until 2 p.m., you guys, and this is the same date that Kirk procured the prescription from Dr. Schulenberg, either in Minnetonka or Water Street. He also got a prescription from Dr. Boo in White Bear. So Dr. Boo said that Kirk told her his tooth was bothering him and that he was going to Atlanta for a show and wasn't going to be able to make the appointment. According to her, she gave Kirk 10 Tylenol 3s with codeine and clindamycin, which is standard procedure. We know that was the 19th because the prescriptions were dated for the 19th. So what concert were they leaving for? According to Dr. Boo, Kirk had told her that Prince's upcoming appointment was with Kirk's doctor, and that on the same day as the Atlanta concert, Kirk's doctor gave a prescription for Prince for 15 Percocet. This is important. Dr. Boo said, a person doesn't get 10 Percocet and then start frothing at the mouth. Dr. Boo told Lombardi that she didn't understand why Prince and Kirk would be at Walgreens picking up a prescription if Prince already had a bunch of fentanyl or whatever it was. So that means that when Kirk was talking to her on the 14th to get the prescription, that they had mentioned the fentanyl, and she didn't understand why they would have to be there getting the other drugs if they already had a bunch of fentanyl. So she knew about the fentanyl, which was seized in Bloomington as well. Okay. And then there's her little map of where she's at. Truly relevant, you guys, because though I'll point it out again and again, it's impossible that Kirk pick up a prescription at Dr. Schulenberg's, pick up a prescription in White Bear, get it filled in Bloomington, and then be on the airplane at 2:32, leaving for Minnesota on the 14th. So to back up that claim, I'm going to show you where Pilot Gallus, he, under questioning, access to flight tracking software app from his smartphone, and the flight info said that they left the airport at 2:32, arrived in Atlanta at 5:30, and then departed Atlanta again at 12:51 Eastern Time, 11:51 Central Time. Please keep this in mind if you're investigating the files for yourself, you guys, that the difference between Central and Eastern, they use all the time because Moline, there's a time change right there. I think there's even 3 time zones that meet up over there. So anyway, really relevant. They're always trying to confuse you by using military time. You can see here in this one where they say 12:51 and then they say 23:51 Central Time, meant to confuse and deceive. So the point is, you guys, that they left at 2:30. Kirk could have never been on that plane with Prince and or Judith Hill, the light-skinned young female. Cough, cough. They, and anyway, he said they departed at 12:51. The other pilot, Betchel, he said that they departed around 10:30. He said 22:30, which is 10:30. And again, Prince requested the cabin door closed. So 10:30 and 12:51, that's a pretty huge discrepancy. And Gallus used his flight tracking software. Not only that, but NBC opened up the magazine or the news articles, and this is what they say. Landed at the airport in Moline at 2:01 a.m. Records show that the plane had landed in northwestern Illinois after descending about 45,000 feet in 17 minutes at speeds reaching 5,000 miles per minute. A pilot of this type of aircraft tells NBC News that rate would certainly be indicative of a medical emergency on board. The Moline Fire Department told NBC News received a call for emergency medical services to respond to the airport at 2:15 a.m. Keep that in your mind, 2:15 a.m. Moline told NBC. But the very next slide, you guys, shows, and I'll show you the whole thing in just a minute. If you're following along with me, I'm following along with myself. The fire department documentation shows that they were with this patient at 1:26. It's on the far left slide under the NBC slide. The one that says Cincinnati Stroke Scale, okay? It also down below says they're with the patient at 1:26. His BP is 161/82. Pulse is 150. They do a Glasgow eye-opening verbal, motor, and coma score. Extremely relevant, you guys, because this patient, who I have shown with you and shared with you, identified as the Prince Nelson. It's actually Nelson Prince, and they spell it Prinxe. It's in here. I'll show it to you. So this patient, Prince, the one whose birthday is 6/7/1954, has a Glasgow coma score of 9. Now, if you look up that coma score, it says that 9 to 12 correlates with a moderate injury, and a score of 8 or less represents severe. So whomever this patient is, they're verging on a severe head injury. Also in the documentation, which is the next one, you can see Prince Nelson, et cetera, et cetera. It says call type and location, overdose, lights and siren, response mode. And then it says disposition, treated, transported by EMS. And then in parentheses, it says ALS, which I looked up ALS. It's that syndrome. But then somebody tried to banter with me and say that it meant all lights and sirens, which is acknowledged over on the mode. But the ALS patient would definitely have a head injury. It'd be quite possible. So again, the identity of the 61-year-old Nelson Prince has a head injury, and that's what we're being disclosed to from Moline. And even though NBC reports that they were there at 2:01, they were with them at 1:46. The next document, you guys, it says best available copy. This is that patient checking out or something to that effect. It says, I know why I was in the hospital. I know what I need to do when I get home. I have a copy of this paper. And then, so you can tell that they're using some kind of software where this person will be typing out their thoughts. And as I told you before on the other video, there's a lot of scanned copies and Unity Point passcodes as if something was being done electronically. But the best available copy thing would be, it would go with somebody having a head injury that had to acknowledge their health care. Now, the next little slide, you guys, is really, really small. What's important about it is it says that this, oops, I clicked on the wrong spot. It says that this officer so-and-so spent 20 minutes with the occupants of the plane And then it goes on to call that officer a she. And yet in the Moline investigations, you won't hear them or see them, or nor is there any documentation about a female officer being interviewed, but they call her a she. They just blank out the name and state that she was with the occupants for 20 minutes and with the patient for 10 minutes, which is really relevant because if you see on the fire department documentation on the third row, it says that that it only took them about 11 minutes to be with the patient, and then it was 11.9911 miles to their destination. All about the gematria. Anywho's, moving on. When contacted by NBC News, the hospital said it treated no patient by the name of Prince Rogers Nelson, the artist's full name. Another nearby hospital, Trinity Rock, said it also did not take in such a person. The Prince spokesperson previously said that he was treated for the flu in Moline and released later that day. Do you see how they use the name he? It's just like they do in the Bible. It's the exact same thing, but I'm not there today. Now, next thing, you guys, Dr. Mancha, she was at the hospital during the night shift of 4:14 to 4:15. It was a very busy shift, and explained that they were treating a gunshot wound victim among numerous other patients. She said she saw on the board that there was an overdose in one of the examination rooms and that the patient received Narcan. Mancha stated she was advised that the patient's vitals were stable, but she was never told who the patient was. This is what's relevant. It should be noted that Dr. Mancha during the interview describes Prince as only the patient. Therefore, any comments about Prince will be described as the patient. She was unwilling to call Prince Rogers Nelson, whoever you're talking about, anything but the patient. Very relevant. Next slide will tell us why, perhaps, because this is the height and weight, and you can see where I have it highlighted that the patient is this particular patient anyway. This is a different patient than the Prince Nelson with the X, the Nelson Prince that we just talked about, the 61-year-old. This one was said to have been born 6/7/1959. 5'4", 117 pounds. Now, what's truly relevant about this slide, you guys, I should have numbered them, is that they're doing both male and female grasp thresholds. I don't know what all these words mean, but they're doing the adult moderate ranges for both a male and a female. And they do all the vital statistics as both a male and a female. Now, considering the fact that Dr. Mancha wouldn't call the patient anything but the patient, and all the other factors that we have, that's very interesting. Might have been somebody having a sex change. Next slide, you guys. Prince Nelson. And it's like the lyric, if your girlfriend didn't have the surgery, maybe she could see what I see. The next slide is the documentation of that patient where it says Prince Nelson. Now notice that NBC reported they didn't take in Prince Rogers Nelson, yada, yada. Prince Nelson, the MRN number is what I want to point out to you guys is truly relevant, and I want to do it before I forget. If you watch my gematria videos and all these breakdown videos, you'll know that the 369 is obviously relevant to everything, the egg, and a lot of things. So look at the MRN number. It's 963-13876. So the first three digits spell out GE or the egg or George. Okay. The second it represents 1318, which is Revelation 13:18, the wisdom of the number of the beast, which is 666. So they're putting it in there. And then 76 is, of course, relevant to the Declaration of Independence, 1776, and name of King David, which is spelled with 3 sevens, Dalet, Vav, Dalet. So the 76 equals 21. One more card and it's 22. So the 963-13876 is truly relevant, and that's how deep this whole thing is coded. Don't think I'm playing. Anyway, you also notice on that same documentation that you guys, it says that that patient had no prescriptions found during this encounter. The other documentation that I've shown you guys shows that the patient took the Percocet and they tested the Percocet, and he had admitted to taking 2 Percocet, and they even input the Percocet into the hospital computer. Yet this particular patient had no prescriptions found. So is this the third patient? Anyway, again, there's another piece of documentation, 5'4", 117 pounds, you guys. We know that that was not Prince Rogers Nelson weight. He was, or height, 5'2", and whatever, 100 pounds. The next one, you guys, I pointed out before, there's documentation that shows IV was on the left arm, and the other documentation up on the 61-year-old prince has IV on the right arm. So I'm showing you that difference as well. Now, this is the Associated Press talking that says one of the pills found in a prescription bottle in Paisley Park that bore Johnson's name tested positive for oxycodone. Just some more proof, blah, blah, blah. And here's some more towards Kirk. Other than the two, because I'm going along in the timeline. Other than the 2 prescription bottles in Kirk Johnson's name, in which one contained suspected oxycodone, the suitcase filled with toiletries such as hair color, hairspray, mouthwash, Band-Aids, blah, blah, blah. Because of the handwritten notes to You Got the Look, even though the suitcase said Peter Bravestrong and had Kirk Johnson's prescriptions in it with illicit drugs in them, they called that suitcase Prince Rogers Nelson, or Prince's. So I'll get there when I'm done. So just know that for now. I'm sorry, it makes me laugh. So there's the pills, the Zofran and the vitamin D, but they show you the pictures, but they don't tell you unless you do the research that they had illicit drugs in them. So now it gets really good here too, I think, you guys, because I've told you before that during one of the investigations, they say that Kirk Johnson's cousin, Aunt Charlene, showed up. He sent her to his house to get 3 prescriptions out of his kitchen counter. That's what these next slides show. But the point is this. The detective Hayes returned to Paisley Park, and the detective says this, and I need you to look along with the slides if you can, when you're able. The pill bottles say Prince R. Nelson, okay? But this is what the detective has to say in his report. Blah, blah, blah. I noted that all 3 prescriptions were written in Prince Roger Nelson's name. So you can't tell a lie like that. You can't just add a whole middle name to somebody's pill bottle. It's quite clear that the bottles say Prince R. Nelson, which I pointed out before spells CERN in the middle. So check that out. So the detective lied right there. Prince Roger Nelson's name, and then the pill bottles Prince R. Nelson. And then moreover, you guys, the next slide shows you the blue and green clindamycin that Dr. Boo had prescribed that was found in the trash outside the concert hall. So they're going to throw it in a pill bottle and throw it up there and tell you, hey, Prince died of an overdose of hydrocodone that didn't even appear in his pills. Moving on, you can see that the orange pills in the bottle were similar to the orange pill found in Kirk's bag, which tested positive for Percocet. And then the little halfsies of the white pills are probably the A349 bupropion that Andrew brought. But we'll get there in a second. Now, prescription monitoring program, you guys. It says Prince, Kirk Johnson, Dr. Schulenberg, and Dr. Boo. During our investigation, a prescription monitor program search warrant was issued to obtain all the prescription history for the controlled substances dispensed to Prince Rogers Nelson and Kirk Anthony Johnson. According to the findings, Prince Nelson, see how they switch up the name real quick? Prince Nelson had only 1 controlled substance prescribed to him within the last year. The result showed Dr. Schulenberg prescribed Valium the day prior to Prince's death. Search warrant findings for Kirk Johnson showed only 2 prescriptions issued within the last year. I'm not going to read all that, but my point is Kirk Anthony Johnson, Prince Rogers Nelson, Prince Nelson, Nelson Prince, Kirk Johnson, Johnson, Detective Johnson. The wordplay in here is just insane. So I'm going to bring the rest. So my point is that they did the Minnesota prescription monitoring search warrant pull for the names, okay? And those were their supposed findings. However, during the investigation, which is the next slide, you see what we were provided as documentation. It says at the top, Health Information Designs, Inc., which is another DBA or LLC. And they give us this fake little query of Kirk Johnson with Dr. Boo and the prescriptions, et cetera. But that is not the Minnesota Monitoring Opiate Program. That is Health Designs, Inc., DBA. I'm not going to go over these next couple slides, but what I included is the statistics from the Minnesota Monitoring Program. And you can see how the statistics and the percentages changed from 2015, 16, and 17 with all the drugs that were being dispensed at Paisley Park. The operational findings, you guys will see for yourself. I put them all in there. Now, I'm at the calendar of April. I don't know where you guys are if you're following along. I'm going to jump on Andrew for a second here, you guys. Andrew Kornfeld said that he works with his father, but he also owns his own company, Practitioners Plus LLC. You see, none of these corporations that treated our king, they weren't well founded, like grounded specialists. They were fly by the seat of your pants LLCs and DBAs, even the Walgreens. Practitioners Plus LLC, he hadn't even got his business cards for. He said they were coming in the mail. That's how new it was. So he told me that he operates the business from his home address in California, you guys. So if you look up his home address, it was disclosed as 4590 Santa Rita Road, Andrew Kornfeld. However, if you look up the Practitioners Plus business license, it shows several different things. One of them shows an address of 5900 Hollis Street, Suite W, Emeryville, California. The other one shows 1531 Russell Street, Suite 15, Berkeley, California. Now, what's very interesting about that, you guys, and I've talked about some of this before, but I'll mash it together for you. Going for the juggler. Anyway, during an interview, Patrick Murphy asked Andrew Kornfeld, one of them anyway, do you hold a medical degree like your dad? Or, I don't. You don't? I'm pre-med. Pre-med? Yeah. Oh, okay. So you're working on it. Yeah, I'm working on it. I just took my MCAT exam. That's what Andrew said. But in the next file, you guys, Andrew is a graduate of the University of California at Santa Cruz, where he studied both neuroscience and psychology. At USSC, Andrew received the Award of Special Achievement for the Department of Psychology and the Dean's Award in Undergraduate Education. At Recovery Without Walls, Andrew works as a practice consultant. He previously worked at RWW Team as a director of new patient services, co-authored papers with his father, Dr. Howard Kornfeld, and from time to time, he acts as a peer mentor to younger patients, often teaching surfing as part of an individualized treatment plan. Now, listen, you guys, his interests in brain science and psychopharmacology complement his work at Recovery Without Walls. So, this is Andrew Kornfeld. First, he's pre-med. Next, he's a graduate from Santa Cruz. So we know we're talking about different identities, different addresses. The whole thing was made to pull the wool over your eyes, as they say. Now, this is the next slide. On 4/26/16, Detective Stahn and I executed the warrant on Andrew Kornfeld's backpack. During the search of the backpack, blah, blah, blah. Located in the Ziploc bag in Andrew's backpack were the following pills. 2 suppositories still in their package labeled as promethazine, 11 individual pills with N2 on them, 5 pills of such, and 6 pills with the name blah, blah, blah. And I'm not going to get into all that. Now, due to their little Google search, they didn't do any real research because I told you how the test results came out on the pills, but they Googled them and they said that the pills that they found that Andrew brought were identified as Suboxone, bupropion, Ativan. So he brought Ativan, suppositories to make it so you don't throw up, and Suboxone, bupropion, same thing. That is what they give recovering addicts. But if you're not a recovering addict and you take that stuff, it will make you trip. You know what, as they say. And I want to point that out because Andrew said that he had the bupropion, which he told me was a drug used for opiate addicts. He told me he wanted me to know he brought these pills on his own accord. He told me when he travels with this, these are the type of drugs, these are type of things. And then his sentence was incomplete. That's what it says. He told me he had no intention of using them. He also told me he had a little Ativan, which he said, blah, 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 to be used if someone was having a seizure. Blah, blah, blah. Now, the next slide, you guys, I wanted you to see this. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Bupropion can cause seizures and an irregular heart rhythm that may be serious and potentially life-threatening and cause rare side effects. Now, dig this. The risk is increased if you have low blood levels, electrolytes, calcium, magnesium, potassium, etc., which can occur with bowel cleansing. Okay, so let's see. If you're cleansing your bowels and using laxatives and doing pharmacology, brain experiments on people, and doing enemas of whatever the stuff is that makes it so you won't throw up. I mean, they were doing all kinds of weird stuff over there, you guys. But the point is the fact that they had the bupropion and all the enemas over there too. Nah. So then they go on to ask Andrew, okay, do you have any other medications on your person? So that was in his backpack. And then he says, no. Oh, just one little bag. It's right there in the slide. See for yourself. Pardon me? Just one bag. So then the next slide, you can see his little bag with all his little drugs in it that they put in the pill bottles and tried to make look like Prince Rogers Nelson's or Prince R. Nelson or Stearns or Mr. Nelson, whoever. Next one is the Psychedelic Explorer's Guide that also Andrew had on him. They were doing those psychopharmacology brain injury things, and what they were doing was the transference of energy, you guys. It's really deep hypnosis, drug stuff that you can't even imagine in the occult, and it's pretty trippy. Now, I went on to break it down because, as you can hopefully tell, I went from April 7th to 14th, and then they tried to say that the plane landed, but there was no patient, or was there, or who was it? And now we're everybody knows there was the famous park at Paisley Park after dark on the 16th, and then he was seen riding the bike around town, but nobody knows who that was in that big fro. So on April 17th, supposedly, and I document all this, there was some tweets, and the 16th and the 17th, but what they were doing was throwing parties at Paisley Park all weekend. And it's in the videos in one of my links called All the Texts or something like that. Next slide, Prince was active on his Twitter feed until April 18th, 3 days before his death. Despite fighting the flu, sending out social media missives about piano and a microphone tour, blah, blah, blah. One of the last tweets from Prince's Twitter was on April 18th, and it was the black sweat. So we're going 15, 16, 17. Now, here's where it gets juicy. So let me take a drink. Now, Kirk, who procured all the drugs, next slide, told me that he did not see Prince on Sunday, April 17th. Kirk did not think he saw Prince again until Tuesday evening, the 19th. Around 8 to 8:30, when they had a meeting with Prince, Larry Graham, Marone Bucure, and Kirk. Kirk said Prince had canceled shows on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of that week, which would have been the 18th through the 22nd, because of what happened in Atlanta. And they were trying to urge Prince to take a break. That's what Kirk said. Now, Dr. Schulenberg, in the next slide, you can see, because they limit his contact in the media file, but here you can see, he says, and then on Monday, the 18th, Kirk texted me, and if you take pictures, you'll see this. Can you call me? So I called him, and it was at that time that Kirk informed me about the concerns with the opiate use. The way when you read the file, what he's referencing is he's trying to say that Kirk contacted him to let him know that Prince was using opiates, that had an opiate problem, but they didn't say what the problem was. But if you read the file, you find out that Kirk Johnson had found out about Narcan at the Moline, is the way it reads, and he didn't know what Narcan was. She explained it to him very thoroughly, even wrote it down on a piece of paper. So I believe that when they got back into town, that Kirk tried to contact a doctor that would hook him up with Suboxone, because not all doctors will write for that, because you have to be trained. And that's why Andrew had it on him, and the laxatives and the whole thing, because they were running all kinds of game. But I'm not there yet. I'm just trying to give you some background. So the fact that they slapped Schulenberg on the wrist and whatever, and he's involved on the 18th and 19th. And the very next one is a text, you guys, where you can see it appears to say the 14th at the top in the little line, and it says, Mr. Mike, can you call me? But Schulenberg just told us that was the 18th. And so then you can see it says Monday at 9:05 a.m. Can you give me a call when you get free? I do want to talk to you about some recommendations. And then on Tuesday, which would have been the 19th, Kirk, I have a number of openings this afternoon. If you want to schedule a visit, that would be great. Should I call the office? And then they go on and talking about how they're open after 2, and I'll put you in at 2 p.m. for 30 minutes. They don't tell us about any of these things in the media, of course. They can say it's not important. Everything's important. No stone unturned. Remember, unturned, Jim Olsen. You know that this is Monday the 18th and 19th because the little text right there with the pencil in it, it says Tuesday at 5:33. Tuesday, it would have had to been the Tuesday, the 19th. So And then it says, could we please come in tomorrow night after hours, do any blood test we can? Please give me a time. I would love for you to be there with us. Why is Kirk telling Dr. Schulenberg he would love for him to be there with him on the 19th? Well, we'll get there. And then down below, yesterday at 9:03, doctor, am I supposed to take all 3 of these meds? There are 3 bottles. Oh, never mind. Why is Kirk texting Dr. Schulenberg or Dr. Kornfeld, whoever, and saying, should I take all 3 of these medications? Why? Why? Because of the 3 pill bottles that have the name Prince R. Nelson on them? Yes, that's why. Next slide, you guys. Larry Graham, still on the 18th. What I'm talking about now is the shadiness that ran between the 17th and the 21st, okay? Kirk said he didn't see Prince 17th or the 18th, okay? He didn't see him till Tuesday the 19th. Larry Graham, he was asked about the night of the 18th. Graham stated that Prince had just got back from a tour. Graham stated Prince looked tired from being on tour, but overall looked good. Graham stated that Prince didn't talk about the plane trip and blah, blah, blah. But my point is this, you guys, the very next slide, Larry Graham said that Prince just got back from a tour and looked tired. What they don't tell you is the St. Louis Post-Dispatch report. It says that Prince was supposed to play 2 more surprise shows at the Fox Theater on April 18th. The promoter of that show, Steve Littman, told the Post-Dispatch that everything was set to go, the artwork, the press releases, the tickets, but Prince had suddenly taken ill and didn't want the shows announced, fearing blah, blah, blah. The point is, you guys, the media doesn't tell you anything about that, and the fact that Larry Graham said that Prince just got back from a concert on the 18th and they said they canceled these. Was he playing surprise secret concerts? Now, the point is also on the 19th, you guys, I got ahead of myself. I should have put this in a little bit different order, but Kim Pratt, the driver, I didn't put my videos in here. Kim Pratt, the driver, she has 2 different stories to tell. I will go back and put those in there. When you listen to her under the Justice League on YouTube, at about 2 minutes, 50 seconds or something, she says that she was with Prince Tuesday night before he passed. She says it twice. She said it quite clearly. I got some backlash on Facebook, and people were like, well, somebody probably meant they passed each other, in passing. Yeah, whatever. She says quite clearly when he passed. And then later on in that same discussion, she goes on to tell how they went to Lurkat, his favorite place to eat. It was all like memorized. And then that they went and rented out the Edina Theater. And they were just like a little family. And then she dropped off Prince at 2 a.m. and then dropped Marone off at the Country Inn and Suites. But if you listen to that, I don't know, it's like 10-minute video, you'll see 2 different stories, 2 different Kims. She clearly says she was with Prince Tuesday before he passed. And then she says she dropped him off at 2 a.m. So, the point that they're doing that on the 18th and 19th really leaves us to question what they were doing after the 15th and Molina or anything at all. I just told you guys, I give you all the dirt. So the next thing I'm going to share with you, they gave some evidence in the files about these emails coming through. These emails are said to be from Marone Bakir to Prince on April 19th at 4:21 and 4:05. But according to Kim Pratt's testimony, they were out and about for the day. So you've got somebody texting another Prince, Marone Bakir. And then also here, this other one says, while reviewing the email account, I observed several emails regarding his concerns for his health, such as on 4/19 at 10:56 p.m. 10:56 p.m. on the same night that Kim Pratt tells us they were out enjoying a movie at Lurkat and then went to had, she even said what he had for dinner, if you listen to it, an appetizer or something. But then they're saying that on 4/19 at 10:56 that Prince sent his assistant, Marone Bakir, an email asking that Ray Roberts, Prince's chef, stop using canola oil and blah, 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 and use a probiotic water. So my point is about the emails, you guys, if Prince was out on the town, Kim Pratt driving him around, they said that he doesn't use a cell phone, but he's emailing and texting on the in-house computer system. So somebody that doesn't use a computer or a phone, that's pretty cool, right? Also, it says on 4/19 at 17:51, so that would be what, 5:51, Prince responds to Natalia Phillips, sorry, I fell asleep. It had been a long day. Talk later. So he's doing all this stuff on 419. How is he telling Natalia Phillips it had been a long day and he fell asleep? Okay. Also, there's more emails there to look at, you guys, from 420. And it's very important that you see the one from Kirk Johnson to somebody named JR, which could have been Jewel Roberts or Julie Ramadan. And at 3:41 a.m., it says, we have a doctor working on all the care needed in-house. And then at 4:16, it's blacked out, but I know it because I read the file. So that was at 3:41. And then at 4:16, he says, call me when you get this. And then there's no more response. So dirt, you guys, all the way through. What doctor was it that you had working all care in-house on the eve of 420 to 421, and why? Was it Andrew Kornfeld and all his drugs, or was it Howard Kornfeld, or was it Michael Schulenberg, the silencer? Who was it? As you read on from Michael Schulenberg, he says that when Prince told him he was taking Tylenol, that the doctor asked him if there were any other ingredients in the Tylenol. And I believe he said, I don't know. Why would the doctor ask him if there was any other ingredients in the Tylenol unless he was privy to information? Now, Dr. Schulenberg, he claims, he's real dirty, you guys. He claims that he received a couple texts from Kirk that came in at 11:12 on the 20th p.m. That Kirk mistakenly sent Schulenberg a picture of the interior back stairs of Paisley Park, where at least one of the princes was found dead by the elevator. But Schulenberg didn't see the text until the next morning. That's what he wants us to believe. But this is really relevant. He said, Schulenberg. And so then I went into the office, arrived at my office about 8:15, finished my documentation on the note, and asked Kirk if he was still in town. Kirk texted me back, as you can see here, I'm still waiting for him to wake up to give him something to take the edge off. And the other doctor, I presume he's referring to blah, 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 and then it cuts off. The testimony cuts off. So this testimony where he said that the night of the 20th, he got pictures of the back stairs, he didn't see him until the next morning, is a lie, because as I disclosed on the other video, Phaedra and supposedly Howard Kornfeld called him to have a conference call about 10, 11 p.m. And so when he says that he was sleeping and he didn't see the text that came through at 9:38, that's a lie. So lies, lies, lies. And there's the picture of the back stairs where Kirk supposedly says, sorry for that photo. Please fax those charts to Mr. Howard Kornfeld, not Doctor. So Mr. Doctor, murder. Now, I'm just going to jump into a few things here. That's how they laid, the breakdown, how they played all those dirty, deceiving games that they played. Next slide, you guys, on 4/21/2016, about 9 o'clock. This is 9 o'clock. I received a telephone call from Sergeant Brunig, who said that he needed investigation assistance at Audubon. He said that Prince Rogers Nelson, you'll note that Rogers is spelled Rodgers. Relevant that it's 9 o'clock and the Rogers is with a D. The next slide that you will see is Hennepin County Sheriff's Office incident report that on 4/21 at 9:10 a.m., they were contacted to assist another agency. Could that have been Sergeant Brunig contacting them at 9:10 a.m.? Why is that when the 9:43 911 call wasn't made until 9:43? Also on the Hennepin County documentation there, you guys, you'll notice that it says that the Nelson, this is really relevant, Nelson Prince Rogers is 5'4" and 120 pounds. The Moline paperwork had him at 117, he, she, whoever it was. But what's truly relevant, and like everything, is the driver's license number is R798. That would be indicative of somebody with the last name Rogers, not Nelson. So who are we really talking about? Now, here's just a little text that this dude named Zach Myers, hearing terrible news from a very inside source that Prince has passed. That was on 4/21/16 at 11:37 a.m. The media didn't announce it until I think it was like 1:16 in the afternoon or something like that. And then also, if you read the files, you'll know that Detective so-and-so was sent out at approximately 11:30, somewhere between 11:26 and 11:31, to address the media that had lined up by the fence over there on the side. And then somebody yelled out something about the ME truck and was there a death? And he said, yes. So this Zach Myers tweeted out this thing that Prince had passed at 11:37. I just thought it was relevant that it said Prince. You could just see that for yourself. Also, you guys, as far as the identities, this is the certificate of live birth that's been handed around in the media forever. And it lists his name as Prince Roger Nelson. The next slide is Carver County civil and probate case records. You can see where there are references to Prince Rogers Nelson, Nelson Prince Rogers, Prince R. Nelson. And what's also relevant is if you look close, it says in the estate of John Lewis Nelson. Lewis is spelled Louis. I've seen the father's name spelled Lewis in other places. So even Carver County has them listed as many different, persons. And so then you guys, this picture here, this is of Paisley Park from above, or Eckankar Center across the street. I'm down towards the bottom of the file. And what was really striking to me is when I looked at this, the very first thing that I saw, you guys, was how the Eckankar Temple of Ek looks like a space monkey. And then if you look at the Beautiful Ones book where the 1999 renditions are done, if you look close in that, there's like this little space monkey and he's like on this flying thing. And that's what the X Center looked like. And it looks like the top half of the body on the top and then the bottom half over there. And then to the left of that, it looks like where Lake Ann Field is. It looks like a turtle. So everything was designed to point us towards that. But moreover, what I want to get out is if you haven't seen my other videos, that the Ek Spiritual Center is Rekisto. It is the KKK. It is the CK, the Kane. And it's not what it's been. I've talked about it on other videos, and I don't want to go too deep on it, you guys, because this stuff is a trip. And I keep coming here and telling myself that I'll lay it all out in a way that could leave no misunderstanding in anybody's mind. But as to what? Well, as in the NWO video that I told you about my life after life and the things that I was remembering, you guys, everything around us is like fake. It's, I don't know how to say it. The New World Order, they're like soulless. Like, you know how we have souls? They're soulless. And the grand narcissist, he doesn't want anybody to reach their capabilities. He doesn't want us as DNA, as God planned out for us to be truth in human form. And, the plan of the evil in the world is to deny our beautiful God-given DNA and make us think, am I? Not I am. And it goes really deep, you guys, the way that they've done that, the pineal gland, all that stuff. You guys are smart. You know about that kind of stuff. But the skin suits, the politicians, it's really hard to remember when I come here and talk to you guys, and it frustrates me a little bit because I don't know if maybe it's not, the timing isn't right or whatever. Maybe all the soft disclosure in the world that's going on right now about is there aliens, isn't there, blah, blah, blah. The New World Order, when I was in my life after life and Hashem showed me that he would be made out to be this Antichrist person, because that's what all the real religions sold, is that God was some abusive alcoholic father that you had to be scared of and appease and follow all these rules to come close to, and then they do everything in their possible power to separate you from that truth. And yes, your government would do that to you. Yes, the master race wannabes would do that to you. They don't care what cliff they push you off, you guys. They don't care. So the grand design is to break down each and every soul until they don't feel worthy enough to talk to their creator, and to separate them, telling them that they have to claim on a man named Jesus, because that's who the grand narcissist sold himself to be and wants people to pray to. And because when I was there in my life after life, you guys, like I said, I had got baptized a Christian too, and that's the one thing I like argued with God about, is that how come we were lied to as a world, but then when we get there, our souls are like punished, or had to like explain how we tried to find God and do all these things. And that's why I'm here, you guys, is because what he told me was that it's so deep. I can't remember it sometimes unless I'm sleeping or in a very different place. But that because he is alien-esque, the creator, and he can create anything, he had to create, he broke himself down to, we couldn't handle his light and benefits, so he had to hide himself in various ways. And due to the contracts and the time that had run out and all the stuff, when I was there on my life after life, he told me that he needed a place to put all the information that they were trying to take, and that was the tree of life information. And that because my soul was, because we're all denied the knowledge over what our soul is capable of when we're born into this world, it's denied from us from the time we put on our skin suits. And but when I was there, he showed me my soul purpose and how connected it is to him, and how, you guys, I know it sounds trippy, but I was told that I hadn't died. I had gone to this place in my body, but my vessel, my soul, was worthy to be used in a way that Hashem could use it, because it was clean, and I didn't want anything but to tell the truth. And the truth is that the way our creator has been sold in the world, I'll say it a million times, as a big old dude in the sky. I'm sweating because it makes me nervous. A big old dude in the sky. It isn't true, you guys. He showed me his self as like the Milky Way. He was like, if you ever sit back and gaze out into the Milky Way, I don't know if I could do it justice. One of the essences that he showed me was like, he was like the brown part of the Milky Way, and all the stars and all the things that surrounded him were like souls, and they were like the capability of our souls. And when you go to heaven's court, your soul, it testifies on you. So like when I overdosed that day 12 years ago almost, my soul, like the grand narcissist that's there, he tries to bring all these accusations and says, oh, you can't talk to God, you can't because you're this and you're that and you're low and you're unworthy, and all these accusations. And I said, no, but that's not true, because I did this and this, and I tried to look and I tried to find, and I explained how. And then I got to go see Hashem in the place called Marom. It's in Hebrew, and we talked and fought, and he told me that I was connected to him in ways that you guys probably will never believe while I'm alive. And that, like I said, that he would be made out to be some kind of weird alien antichrist. But yet, this is the other thing, you guys. When this soft disclosure is done, and this is what I was hearing today, is that as the souls become aware and acknowledge the dark, the Illuminati, the Merovingian bloodline, the wannabe NWO, and you start denying them your fear, and you start denying them your money, and you start listening to what I'm saying, the world will, uplift, and people's souls will uplift, and will become more light instead of more dark. And those people will have to stop doing what they're doing, because it's not going to work for them, because they can't cause fear on us anymore. You know what I'm saying? But what they will do is this, and this is what I'm hearing. Don't quote me verbatim. I think as the truth is exposed, and souls like ascend a little bit or something, that the NWO Gaia channel, Stephen Greer, who looks like he's wearing a skin suit, Gaia, AIG, makers of the RFID chip, they're doing the soft disclosure about aliens, but when they do come out with more details, you guys, because they know that what I'm saying is true, that our very creator is of alien-esque form, I don't know how else to say it, So the grand plan, the UFO crown jewel to deceive, is by breaking down our creator, our world, our creator, and especially Merkaba, America, by way of the NWO. Because if you can break down America, well, then golly, you can probably control the rest of the country. But it also has something to do with Asia, because it's an East meets West thing, and the World War III, that a lot of bad things would be coming. And that people would have to realize that their maker is real, that their creator is real, and that as the NWO comes for your soul, what they're going to do, and again, this is what I hear, is that they'll present like superhuman people, like Marvel characters or whatever, and they'll say, look at these ascending souls, look at this power we have, look at what we control, and look at what you can have. And you know and so then people, if they buy that, will start to buy into their own power instead of realizing that they have a creator to thank, to talk to pray to. And if you don't, you will be sorry, you guys, because you did not create yourself as the grand narcissist believes he did. And so if you start to experience things in your hearing, in your mind, in your, not maybe you, but someone's, if you have a disqualified vessel, and you're arrogant and you lie, and you don't have truth in you, then you will not stand near the creator when he comes. You will have a chance to make up for that stuff, you guys, but like, you don't just die and automatically go into heaven. It doesn't work that way. It might make some people who have lost loved ones sad, but it should make you want to do what's right, because you have to answer for what you did in life and what you can do next, what your vessel can be used for. You don't just go into the dirt and get eaten up by worms. Your shell does, but your soul doesn't, your being doesn't. And that's what the NWO and them, they want to control, you guys. They want to take away the fact that God instilled in us part of him, whether you want to call it the pineal gland, DNA, it's all of it. It's what makes us us, and it's a soul, and they don't have one, so they want ours. Now, more than that, you guys, they want our young ones' souls. I believe in my hearings that that's why the Roe versus Wade and a lot of things. But when I died, I was showed some pretty grotesque things, and children in cages, and just either I saw it in my visions. I don't know if it was that day. And one of the things that I wrote in early 2020 was that if there is like a blue beam fake rapture type thing, that there's going to be a lot of orphans made. And they want the children because they're more moldable and susceptible to control. And they may try to convince you that the world has gotten so foul that you need to hand over your children. Again, these are just things that I hear, because, again, they are Merovingian vampire-esques that practice the Genesis 9 for trying to get the soul to leave the body so that they could partake of it. And children are easier to use. And I know that sounds pretty horrific, but I hear it, so I'm going to tell it to you. One of the things that I've been working on is telling the whole truth. Because if I was able to hear it in the heavenly place and digest it and get rid of my ego and understand that there is very much an occultic paranormal world that we revolve in. That's why plastic surgery is what it was. The whole medical industry started because of the way that the skin suits walk around in our world. Why Trump's hair will never stay on, why Biden never looks the same with his BBB 666 Build Back Better plans. No politician, no Democrat is going to save you, you guys. Only Hashem, only Adonai Elohim met the truth, the only one truth, and it's the one the world knew as Prince Rogers Nelson, showing himself by contract in this world as such to get my attention. He knew I was going to die. He brought me to heaven. It was so our souls could connect. Nobody else can tell you these truths. And some people still sit back and say, yeah, the Illuminati killed Whitney and killed, Heath Ledger and whoever, all the other River Phoenix, all of them, Michael. And they're like, yeah, so what, you guys? But don't you understand that it's all for entertainment purposes. It's all to distract your soul from the truth. All the $9,000 purses and $3,000 shoes and meme world that we live in. It's all a distraction by the grand narcissist to trick you from understanding what your soul is, and then telling you that John 3:16 is the way to save that soul, and you don't need to do nothing else. And then you're waiting like a pregnant woman, twiddling your thumbs, waiting for Jesus like you're waiting for Superman or Batman. And that's not the way it goes down, you guys. They got this whole world tricked and under hypnosis, and it's like there's no DMT left in the world. But when the trickery comes in hard and heavy, you can be sure they're going to be using drugs and fluoride and poison food and plastic food and disgusting meat particles to make you believe what you're seeing is true. It's very hard to describe occult things when they make you so uncomfortable, you guys. But there's a place of chaos and confusion. It's like where heaven and hell is, and it's really weird. And these people can be whoever they want to be. And the creator, this is all part of his grand design. But he did suffer a lot and is still suffering. And we need your help, you guys. These things will come to fruition. And, the only thing that I want to be acknowledged for, you guys, is not being cool, popular, having a bunch of YouTube followers. I get excited when people view because I know that the truth is spreading. And the only thing that like, I'm not looking for credit, but what I want the world to know is how much I truly love God and how long I've searched. And I never expected to stand there and live my life after that life and meet him and then be here talking to you. It's just for trying to bring his love to the world so that you guys know that you can talk directly to him. You don't need an intermediary, an intercessory. You don't need to claim please don't claim the words of John 3:16, because just because a world that's run by politicians and child rapists and the Pope Francis, Jorge Margoli, Gog Magog, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. I try to be really, really nice, you guys, but if you're still listening to those things, without asking your soul why, without going to God and praying with hands open, not closed, but open to receive, talk to him just like your best friend, you guys. He's waiting. He will show you that what I'm saying is true. And he wants to show himself just as badly as we want to have a creator and a king for our world, you guys. It just is what it is. The breakdown was real. It is real. You'll see in the pictures on the side the qualities that he was showing. You guys know, jumping off the pianos and this and that and the other. It's really not that hard to believe, I'm sure. But what benefit does the NWO get, you guys? They thought it was going to be a surprise attack, that America would willingly cover their grandly designed DNA, thereby covering their very own creator, and that they would mask and disguise the creator and call him the Nameless One. He told me when I met him that he's been all alone. No one refers to him by name. They've tried to erase him completely from the world, and that's why America is Merca. 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 That's how they want us to see ourselves as, forgive myself for saying, dumb rednecks. That's how they want us to see ourselves. They want you to forget that you have a holy, godly soul capable of truth inside of you. But to attain it, you have to find your truth. So I beg of you and I pray for you to start looking for that truth and talking to the creator about it. It's called Hit But a Do. Thank you for listening. I know it's getting kind of long. There's no way to say these things in a short way. So, something I want to say too, if you made it to the end. I'm going to do a whole nother video on it, but it has to do with the gematria of Revelation 18:13. And it's why Prince of the Revolution was called Prince of the Revolution, because everything he did was meant to bring to my attention that Prince and Pride were the same. It's like there's a movie out there called Focus. I forget the primary actors, but in it, go watch it, because you'll see how easily the mind is programmable to see what others may want you to see. So if I've been programmed, at least I've been programmed by God, by the creator, and not by the media. So back there in the tree of life that I'm always talking about, you guys, on the one side you have 369. Okay, that equals 18. Okay, on this side you have 258, but purple rain is written in a suspended 2 chord. So suspended 2, you take away the 2, then you have 13 on this side. So then it would give you 1813, which is 18 equals life and 13 equals love in Hebrew. Now, why would Revelation 13:18, speaking of the 666, be accounted for as 18:13 in the tree of life, and then it breaks down to 21:22 in the middle? But I wanted to point out the 13:18 to let you guys know that I don't know how we did it when I was in my life after life exactly. Either drank something, or I'm not sure how it happened that he gave me all this information, but still does all the time. And there was like a pause in me remembering it from 2010 to 2020. It was a 10-year gap that I had to, like, I don't know, suffer and learn. Or, I don't know. But then in 2020, when the whole COVID thing came on and the whole world was shut down, it was like our time, our world was reset. It was like a digital haze. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but sometimes I feel like I woke up in a totally different world. And that's interesting with the way they have CERN talking about opening portals and stuff, because one of the things I remember from my life after life was when I was meditating and I was allowed to go to these certain levels higher and higher, by calling on names of God and deciphering things, and explaining that I learned them by listening to music, and not in the ways that they expected me to. I forgot what I was going to say, you guys. I wish I could rewind it and watch myself. 1 second. Man, it was going to be really profound too. I can't rewind. Such is life. It happens. It's really foggy, you guys. It's hard to remember everything perfectly. I don't know. Maybe I should start clicking on my phone in the middle of the night and bringing the information to you when I remember it. I want you to know that I'm telling the truth. I wouldn't waste my time or my life coming here to do anything that wasn't true. So I'm super sorry I forgot what I was going to say. I'll start out my video with it next time. I know it probably had something to do with the gematria or something profound. Doggone it. My videos, I can't remember. Anyway, you guys, the breakdown is real. It's why the song was put out in 2013, 24. It was played all through 2013 and then came out in 2014, announced as the favorite show on 3/14, which is pi. It's why the Prince investigation is pi. Prince investigation has to do with the 19. It's upside down mirror writing, gematria, mirror writing, MW or 3/3 or east meets west. It depends on how you look at the words. The point is, the Creator told me he was going to be broken down, pointed to as an antichrist, and then the NWO was going to come in with some sort of one world religion trying to swoop in and RFID chips. But the fact of the matter is, he told me he was in control still, that they thought, because they don't understand how souls work, they thought that by possessing his skin suit, which they do now, that would somehow make them him. And when I was in my life after life, it was part of the arrangements to extend some time, to bring you guys this information, because though this information won't stop the bad things from happening, there's going to have to be bad things that happen. I don't know what they're going to be exactly, but when they do, you guys will have this jump on the truth, and you won't be deceived by the deceivers. And that's why I'm brave enough to come here and do that, because I truly want you to be able to look inside your soul and ask yourself what you believe about God and who you are and why you are. And once you know that, you won't be able to open up an NIV or a KJV and just believe because Joe Schmo told you that you say John 3:16, for the God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son, that so whoever believes have everlasting life. Why? What is so different about those words than the words that are coming out of my mouth that tell you you can connect right to your Creator with your DNA and your DMT and your holy divine soul that he made you for? The purpose of you being in your skin suit is to be separated from him, and then your job is to find him again, just like hide and seek. And when you get to heaven in your life after life, you have to explain how you tried to find him. I could do that because I was looking hard even before I knew it was the one. And I've explained that journey to you guys, and I'll explain it to you some more if you allow me. And I appreciate you listening. Hopefully you'll dig on the links. Go check out my Facebook. There's papers galore written all over the place. And, talk to your creator like your best friend, because that's what he wants to be. He wants to show himself and be loved too. Okay? Bye. Bye, guys. Thank you.